Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Finance and Accounting Show, and today I have a great interview for you. I'm going to be replaying an interview that I actually flew to New York City to do. And this interview was special because I got a chance to sit down with the CEO and co-founder of an amazing tool that my firm has been using, and it is a tool called LiveFlow. Now, what I love about the tool LiveFlow is that it has dramatically improved the way we approach closing and reporting. I mean, for all of our clients that we support, one of the biggest challenges that we had is how do we create the financial reporting that they need? Because not all companies needed the same exact type of reporting structure. Some of them needed metrics that focused on revenue. Some of them needed metrics that focused on AR turns and AP turns, and some of them needed metrics that were focused on unique cash flow positions. But what we were trying to find was a tool that allowed us to have the flexibility that we needed to support our clients the way we did. And we were doing it manually, and it was taking us hours to do. But after finding the tool LiveFlow, which patches right into Google Sheets and allows us to automatically pull data directly from QuickBooks into Google Sheets, what that's done is it's actually transformed a part of our business to where we've been able to now create a new line of service, because now where it used to take us a lot of effort to do the closing and the reporting, we are now able to do the closing and the reporting, and we are able to offer a new dashboarding type of product or service to other businesses that may have another accountant or they may be working with someone else. But this tool allows us not only to serve our current clients, but it's allowed us to expand our product offering to be able to support more businesses, to grow our business, and to automate the reporting a whole lot more. And we're excited about using the tool. And I'm excited about sharing this interview with you. So stay tuned for the interview with CEO and co-founder Lasse Kalker of LiveFlow. Welcome to the show, my great friend. Thank you guys for coming all the way from Europe over to the U.S.
Thank you. Yeah. Took a whole plane just to do the interview. Thank you.
You know, I feel special. I feel like my show is like, your show is a big deal when people travel from country to country to come do it in person.
Well, here we are.
Gotcha. Now,
rainy morning in New York. Couldn't be better.
Now, you guys have been traveling throughout the U.S. in different cities, visiting some customers. What has that been like for you guys?
Yeah, it's been it's been a great trip. So we've visited not everywhere in the U.S. The funny thing is, I think we set on the map now. We've only been to 10% of the states or so very little compared to the whole country. But we feel like we've been to so many places now. San Francisco, Los Angeles, Houston, Denver, Boulder, Chicago, Miami, New York, and it's 6-7 cities. But yeah, it feels like we've been to so many different places. But I just still realize that how many places we still haven't visited.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's been great. We've meeting in a Zoom world where we all just kind of turn into be a sort of half-baked body, right? With a gray or whatever background on. Meeting people, especially our customers in person, which was the main idea of this trip. Has been really good and really eye-opening, and you just get to something different when you meet people in person. And there's just certain things that I think cannot be replicated, over Zoom still, and I think it's it's really worth it. So yeah, hopefully people also enjoyed speaking with us. We didn't scare them away.
And I think that's pretty interesting. I mean, just being able to meet people in person, and even as you talked about, from meeting so many people on Zoom, and I think even more for you guys because you guys are located in Europe.
Yeah.
You have quite a big customer base that's growing and continuing to grow in the US. What is that like for you guys with having your customers, geographically so far away from you?
Yeah, well, first off, it means that my internal clock is shifting more and more towards another time zone. So it's definitely a challenge. It's a the good part about, of course, building software is that you can be in country one and sell to country two and be very far away from it, and it can still work. But it's a challenge in the sense of that time zones are tricky.
Yeah.
When you guys have a daring issue with your setup with us, and if we're not available, I like customer support needs to be instant, right?
Yeah.
Like an instant means in the minute, in the second. It doesn't mean 2 hours later because you're going to be annoyed, right? So we try to pay very high attention to that, and I think there is no doubt that going forward we're gonna expand our little footprint to be more over here because it seems that that's the way things are going.
Gotcha. I will say, I mean, from my experience so far, you guys have done a really good job of addressing the issues that have popped up.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's been interesting because I'm using, for some of the technical or I guess detailed bookkeeping stuff, I'm using a team in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. They're working on their calendar schedule.
Yeah.
And I'm on the East Coast in the US, and I do have some clients that are in different time zones. Mm-hmm. So like for me, it's been interesting that when I did have an issue, I sent a message and like, hey, someone was online to respond to fix it. So.
Yeah, well, you keep us up at night. So. Yeah, but no, I mean that's what we're here for, right? And that's our number one priority. So.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Gotcha. So I want to talk a little bit more about like the trip to the U.S. You guys started kind of on the West Coast and then moved yourself back to East Coast. Was there a particular reason why you guys picked the cities that you picked for this kind of tour that you guys are doing?
Well, yeah. So we really just selected them based on where do we have sort of a large enough footprint of customers to go and visit in person, and now. What's interesting is what we're seeing is our customer base is quite spread out across the whole country. So ranging from some firms out in California, and then moving sort of across, having interestingly quite a good pickup in Denver or in Colorado. I don't know if there's a larger proportion of accounting firms and CFO services or bookkeeping firms there, but. Yeah, so it's mainly just sort of based off of that, and then just trying to get a better understanding of what's life like, for an accountant in Denver versus someone in San Francisco, and try to get a better understanding of that, which I think we've got now.
And I think that's a really good thing to pick up. I would say throughout my career of working in different cities, like I started my career in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've lived in Chicago, worked in DC, spent a lot of time working with Wall Street analysts who were actually from everywhere. And then I moved down to South America and worked and lived in Brazil for a while. Yep. And so it's just like although you may be doing accounting and finance, it's very different from the geography at times on like how you approach it. So, yeah. I mean, I think that is huge.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think it's also, what we're seeing is that, to no surprise, the firms out in San Francisco, often going to work with tech startups as their customers, right? Or their clients. And the one in Denver might not, or the one in another city might not have a completely different, a client base. And the way we approach our sales to the accountant also kind of depends on who they are selling to, right? Because it's a different level of complexity you have, and whether you're selling to a tech startup or you're selling to a real estate agent, right? Or a plumber. So it's really important to, I think, to understand those kind of nuances of what are the pains that an accountant for that segment is going through versus another one, because it really, really changes their kind of job as to who they are also selling to. Yeah, so there's a lot of things to be figured out there.
Gotcha. And so in this tour, as you kind of met with some of your customers, what was some of the feedback that you got from some of the customers and their experience in using the tool so far?
Yeah, I mean, overall, it seems that people are really happy, which we're, super happy about as well. I think one of the key things that we're sort of starting to understand more is we're starting to understand really what we're selling to some extent. And I think what we're learning, and you know this probably better than I do, but what at least we're learning is that once we're selling that we will, help you to bring your data from QuickBooks into Google Sheets easier and refresh that, and so you don't have to waste time on it. The kind of the things that opens up is something that is harder to discover over a Zoom call, right? Yeah. So, what it really entails for some customers that at least we've met with now is giving them back, 2-3 days, possibly a month of work or days that they can free up and really just do something completely different in their lives if they want so, right? And I think those are some of the things that it's very hard to understand from like far away, and the better understanding you can get of those things, the better, right? So yeah, overall, I think, well, you tell us, you can give feedback, but overall really good. And I think also what we're learning is that we're nowhere close to maybe that's hard to say. We still have a long way to go, right? Mm-hmm. So we've of course built an initial good product, right, which is working, but there are so many more things that we can help people solve, right? Mm-hmm. And we can always go in details about those, but those are some of the things that sometimes are harder to understand from far away, because you don't understand sort of what is a day like of an accountant in Chicago, right? Mm-hmm. And why is it that they have these kind of motivations towards doing this or that? So getting to understand those is really key, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's always interesting as a entrepreneur, of realizing like you have your technical product that you offer or your service that you offer, but when you actually talk to the customers, like what is the real benefit you're getting from using this? Yeah. I mean, it does become very different, because even like for myself, like one of the things that I probably started working on months ago was like with some of my restaurant clients, like. Mm-hmm. They need more data, and they need it faster, to the point where it's like it's not cost effective for them to hire my firm to give daily support, because that gets very expensive for them. So it's like, how can we streamline this? And so step one was, okay, my team is making sure we're doing the bookkeeping kind of on a weekly basis, so by Monday they could see it. But then they were having challenges going into QuickBooks. Mm-hmm. And then so we were like, okay, all right, how do we get a tool that avoids them having to go into QuickBooks to look at all of this? And I think the LiveFlow was that tool, to where it automatically refreshes. So my team, they're doing their stuff in the background. It's feeding into Google Sheets. So when they log in, they look at, they're like, okay, I can see where I am, and they can make more real-time decisions. And I think for them, it was the product, what it gave them was peace of mind that they were on the right track.
Yeah, exactly, right. Exactly. That's a prime example of something for us which can be harder to discover from far away. But really, when you get, like in the restaurant with the owner and sees what they can see, that's really when it makes the difference. So, yeah, I think that's a great example. And speaking of the restaurant, that problem which we haven't solved yet. Is or with everything in hospitality or event venues, is the problem. I don't know if you've encountered it, but you often have a QuickBooks that 445 calendars. It's quite hard to set up, and which is something that we haven't solved yet, but which we'd love to look into in the future, because it can help that specific group of clients achieve something better with their businesses. So yeah, there's a lot for us to do.
Awesome. Well, I would say I'm really enjoying using the tool, and one of the things that I'm enjoying is hearing the story of kind of, I guess you would say the origin story of the business. So,
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about like all the businesses that you can choose, like why did this pop up for you as like, hey, this is where I want to dedicate my time to solving this type of problem?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a funny story. So, from when I was very young, so like 12 years old, 13 years old maybe, I somehow ended up on kind of, as you can hear in the accent, the Danish kind of little community sides of building companies, so like doing websites and like all of those cool things a long time ago. And since then I just had I always had a huge interest in building stuff. It was just always, I was always trying to figure out ways how I could solve people's problems, and I was always I got very curious at that age about like understanding what pains people had, and even not just from an accounting perspective, but like from everything, and try to think of solutions to that. I don't know, it just amused me somehow. So that thing just always was kind of apparent to me. And then I did I was very young and started like online shops here and there, buying stuff from one country, trying to sell it, like if we look back at it, probably wasn't anything great, but you kind of got started in things. And then I bought a coffee shop, funny enough, in long time ago as well now. And the coffee shop, I opened it myself. I ran it. Turned out it wasn't really what I should be doing, I think. And I also had a very hard time managing my finances for that. And then latest, when I lived here in New York last, I founded an investing app. So it was sort of like you go on, when you purchase something on your credit card, we would round up your spare change and then invest it in a portfolio view. It didn't work out, so I've had my fair amounts of startup ventures that didn't really go as planned. But I think sort of throughout the whole journey, one of the key things that was always a huge pain for me was financial management and just managing finances. That was actually everything from putting receipts into some system that you had a good process for, not running around with your bags full of receipts, to all the way to the FP&A part where you plan things and try to get an overview of your finances and how you can kind of move forward. And yeah, like that was, so when I did my coffee shop, funny story is, and this is actually true, so my finance things got really out of hand, and I ended up I tried to hire an accountant. And then he said to me, okay, well, you need to give me your receipts so I can kind of start doing your books, right? So he lived, like, it was in Denmark, he lived, like 30 minutes out of the city. So I drove out to him with like sort of the equivalent of a two Walgreens bags, that you've probably seen a few times before, with full of receipts, completely unorganized. It was, so embarrassing now to look back at it. And delivered it at his door, and I never heard from him again. so I miserably failed to hire an accountant. But anyways, long story short, just a little bit of an experience of sort of why I got started in this. And then yeah, like I've just seen over and over again, speaking to either other people that have tried to start their own company, finance teams, accountants, of course. Speaking to them so many times, or prior to starting LiveFlow, it was just very, very clear to me that there was a real big pain here, and it made no sense to me why there wasn't sort of better solutions on the market. Especially because you've seen like, okay, Quickbooks and you have Xero and NetSuite and so on kind of platforms, over the years, be very good for certain things, but I feel like there's just so much more to the financial sort of stack than just those. So my goal is just really ultimately to help people build better companies by automating their financial workflows, so that the restaurant can focus more on like having peace of mind and focus on making better dishes, or sourcing better ingredients for their food, or getting more customers in the door, and really just trying to take that pain out of the way.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I've seen from working at larger companies like General Electric or other Fortune 500 companies where, there are hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in kind of like the Hyperion tools where you can load data into Excel and then you can run different formulas and stuff like that. And I think this really allows you to really start to do stuff like that at a much more reasonable price for like smaller businesses and smaller firms. So I think that the tool is definitely has some amazing features. So one of the questions I have is, we started with QuickBooks. Is there any line of sight of expanding to other accounting platforms?
Yeah, so I'll open up our little feature request list and see where we land. But no, yeah, we've been fortunate to get the same question a lot. We're right now exploring bank integrations to US and European banks first. Then we're exploring Xero as the next accounting platform. And then we're looking at things like Stripe for revenue data. Shopify for e-commerce revenue data, typically, and then we haven't explored it deeply yet. But given that there is kind of a use case for the restaurant and so on, it could be interesting, I think, to look at if it comes up, to look at things like the point of sale systems they're using, to get real time data. Because one of the issues, I guess, sometimes you can have, you tell me more about this, but is if you get your your sales from your Square, that not being reconciled sort of every day in real time in QuickBooks, that there being an argument for that. But yeah, so that's some of the things we're looking at.
Awesome. I love it. Well, before we wrap up and let you get back to the rest of your U.S. tour, this is the 2022 LiveFlow tour in the U.S. with all the raving fans across the country.
It doesn't sound as sexy as you portray it, but we'll take it, yeah.
Before we wrap up, one question I always love asking is, based on your journey so far with, developing a business, going through all the experiences of startups and even just working with customers who are business owners themselves, what's 2 pieces of advice that you would share with entrepreneurs and business owners?
Well, I guess the most obvious thing, just speak to your customers, I think, but do it more than you think you should.
Okay.
I think when we started the company, there's one thing that I kept saying is that we can mess up more or less everything, but if we just stay very close to our customers, it's very likely that that's going to solve other things we might mess up. Example being, you and I sitting in a meeting trying to discuss whether we should go A or B, or A, B, or C on our product roadmap, or in our next kind of iteration of things. We can, of course, sit and think, okay, we have the right answer for things. But really the right answer lies probably down with those customers that you're working with, or potential customers. And I think, that one thing that I've often seen in companies, especially as they grow bigger, is this kind of idea that the best idea lies in the executive room, and that's just not true in my opinion. There might be that there are some solutions that you wouldn't see when you speak to the customers that happens there, but I think that you can solve so many things just by doing that. Because you end up it really doesn't matter whether you're in a restaurant business or you're in a software business. If you just ask them for feedback constantly, you sell pasta. You don't how are you gonna know whether people like your pasta or not if you don't ask them, right? Yeah, sure. You can brand yourself as the expert and you know everything, but then you're selling to a market of one, which is yourself, right? So yeah, it's probably pretty obvious, but I think that doing it, executing it every day takes more work than people think, and it's not as sexy, right?
Yeah.
You know, really, like, yeah, I mean, of course I'm a founder and like, all of this blah blah blah, but really I consider myself just I don't know, customer support agent, or yeah, I don't know, like what's the title, but and I think that's very healthy.
How did you guys go from the idea of this company to then finding the right people or finding people to join the team?
I mean, we've built I'm really happy with our team right now. It's phenomenally good, I think. But it takes a long time to get there. I think one thing is just to have discipline to say no when you build a team. Because, and it doesn't matter again, like if you build software or if you build video cameras or you build tables, you know, like the people that are going to do it, they're the most important really, because that's going to end up in the production line and so on. So I think just probably sometimes, you know, things can get really busy and you can be pressured because, well, things are growing, maybe, you know, you need to hire a lot of people, or you want to fill this role like instantly. And I think having the discipline to say no is really, really important, because you can, the minute it's very, very costly to make mishires in my view, especially when you're very small. And so I would rather not hire the person. No, that's not true either. I would rather, yeah, I don't know what's the best phrase, but like I would just be very, very kind of thoughtful about it. And I think is that like one thing that small companies often don't do, I think, which is quite overlooked, is to try to put their values or their culture into some words very early on. Because the thing is, everything has a culture. Like if you and I go out and do a Terrell Lasse accounting shop tomorrow, we're gonna have a culture in our company, right? We maybe don't talk about it explicitly, but we're gonna have a culture. And you know, the biggest misperception is that people think culture is like some words written on the walls, right? Which obviously it's not. And but I think getting that down on paper is key. And really, the culture is gonna write the values are gonna write itself, right? Because culture is not what we write; it's what we do every day. But once you talk about it, and I think once you get on the same page about it, the everyday executional decisions you have becomes significantly easier to think through, because you don't have a clash of opinions all the time. It's great to have sort of different opinions, and it's great to have diversity in your thinking. You should always have it, but if you're aligned on the fundamentals, then things become much easier. So, like if I were to, you know, like if I was starting a restaurant, you know, I would try to hire people that are extremely empathetic, because they're you know going to do a lot of customer service, right? Of course, people that are really like the product, and then you can say, well, what product are we selling? Because if you're going to you know, like when you go to a restaurant, you're really selling very different products, right? Sometimes you go to a restaurant to be entertained. Sometimes you go to a restaurant to have a customer meeting. Sometimes you go to a restaurant just to eat. But it's really different things you're selling, and you need to understanding that is very important, I think. So, if it was at a restaurant, I think I would really just try to hone in on those initial 5 people, 10 people that are going to work there, is to really make them a part of the process. Which is how I like to do things. So instead of me telling them how I think things should be done, it's about making them part of the process and getting everyone's buy-in on things, and then they're gonna do wonders, you know, like and yeah, just give people kind of context rather than like tell them the A or B, but just give context, and then they're gonna arrive at the answer themselves. Yeah.
Nice. Well, Lasse Kalker, thank you so much. Again, like I said, for flying from Europe all the way over here to be on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for including us as part of the 2022 U.S. tour for LiveFlow.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be back.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Finance and Accounting Show. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release a new episode.